Today we are working on a bumper on the 4Runner. As you can see, we got a little bit along the way already. We did strip everything off. I kind of wanted to skip over the boring parts before I started videoing. So we moved the turn signals up into the little panels underneath the headlights, got those wired back in. I didn't want to have to take those on and off when the bumper comes off, so that's kind of how I designed that. This is this winch cradle. Forget who makes these. I ended up buying this one secondhand, so I don't remember the brand name of it. But my idea with bumpers, I like to be able to take them on and off, especially by myself, because most of the time I am by myself. So I like to do a two-piece system. I like to do a winch tray with a bumper mount off of that winch tray. That way the winch can stay on the vehicle 90% of the time, bumper can come on and off. The only thing you gotta take off is your lights. So anyway, I got my bumper mount brackets bolted on here. I don't know if I'm gonna end up welding the nuts on or not, or if I will do a through bolt style. It is definitely easier if you weld the nuts on, but then if one gets damaged, obviously you're limited there. So anyway, we welded on main upright plates here, which are tied into this winch plate. And then they also tie into the other factory outer two bolts. You might be able to see that a little better on this side here. Ties into these outer two bolts here, is welded on all the way along here. These flat strap bolts in there. They're pretty stout and a little bit of movement, but once they're tied across, I don't think I'll really have anything to worry about there. Worst case, I can always go in and re-add another brace on the inside here if I feel they're not strong enough. The other thing we're going to do with the bumper once this is all complete is these outer frame horns that are here. Tie the original bumper bracket onto as well. We are going to do a sideways brace off of this out to the outer wing. That way any side impact will be absorbed kind of by that brace as well. I think that'll really help tie everything together. This will be a little bit similar to the Tacoma bumper we built, but definitely a little bit different, a lot different in lights. We are keeping the Diode Dynamics lights. Building this bumper here, winch is kind of just going to be exposed out the bottom of the bumper. The idea is that it'll kind of cover all the way to the fair lead, so this portion will be exposed. That way there's no pass through, there's no reason to put any pressure on the bumper from the winch plate. So anyway, we're going to get to it. We're just going to kind of time lapse as I'm building this bumper, so you guys stay tuned and follow the build.
It helps if you turn on the welder. That's twice, you idiot. Watch closely. Barely caught that. Gotta keep the tip clean.
All right, everyone, we're sitting at about 21 hours right now into the project. We did just get everything fully welded on the front section. The entire backside is stitched, probably about every 3 to 5 inches all the way along, did 1-inch stitches. Our bumper brackets, our actual mount plates, are fully welded all the way. Every plate they touched fully welded. Our couple of braces underneath here, our forward brace, fully welded around, does fully weld to this brace back here that is this body mount. And then same thing with this side tube, fully welded, goes up fully welded with an additional triangle gusset as well. The end cap is fully boxed in up to here. It is weld plated on the inside. That way there's no exposure into the end cap. It makes it a little stronger. This is not bolted on tight right now. In fact, I'm missing a couple of bolts because I do need to drill some of the holes out. The reason I test fit this before grind and finish is, do I need to weld some more on it somewhere to get it to work a little better, or do I need to drill out the mounts for it? So ultimately I just need to drill out my brace plate holes down here, which I did leave pretty tight. I wanted to see how well our main bracket holes lined up. I can still slide bolts in and out of them pretty easily. The bumper does sit pretty on its own, does self-support, I should say. So we'll get this all ground down. We'll get it all etched, sanded down, ready for paint, to get it painted. Probably while this is in paint, we will get the hitch modified, get that welded up here. So I'll show that video as well. I won't make you guys sit through 3 hours of me having to grind this bumper. I'll give you the quick, like 30 seconds of me hating my life. You know, we'll give you the condensed version. So we are another probably about 4 or 5 hours in of grinding, and curious, this is what 4.5 pounds of metal looks like. There's some dog hair in there and stuff too, but that's pretty much all the grinding does, from grinding all of the face welds to the bumper. I went through with this between 36 grit and 40 grit wheels to knock down the bulk of it. Obviously this is never going to be fully perfect. If I wanted every imperfection filled, I would have to go through and TIG weld this. Yes, you can do it with a MIG welder, but it is going to take a significant amount of time. This is not going to be one of those things that's needed to be perfect. It's more important that we're having a bumper in general rather than having a perfection bumper. This isn't the SEMA build. So anyway, still gotta go through and hand sand all this to get it prepped for paint. But I just thought it'd be kind of interesting for you guys to see a giant pile of metal dust. There's probably like
4 pounds. We weighed before and after grind.
Yeah, that's my least favorite part about building bumpers. So about 4.5 hours there, hopefully hour and a half I can be done hand sanding. Maybe I will get another coat onto this thing. We're probably going to wrap this bumper up somewhere in the nature of about 30 hours. So thanks for watching, guys. The next thing we'll show you is probably going to be a little bit of me hand sanding, some paint prep, and then you probably just end up seeing it on the vehicle. Alright guys, so we are about 30 hours. I was pretty accurate, somewhere about 28-30 hours. We are all wrapped up with the bumper build. Got the license plate back on, got the diode dynamics light bar back on. This is actually stable this time. I was a little flimsy on the stock bumper, just couldn't support it out. We did have to move the fairlead over to one side. It does tuck into the bumper and hit the bumper and the hitch a little too much. It was rubbing some paint off. So did have to scoot that over, but not bad there overall. Everything fit up pretty much exactly how we wanted. Bumper came out really nice. We'll do a nice little pan around on the bumper. That way you guys can see that. We still are planning to do some fog lights in this. More than likely will still be this opening here. Just kind of need to go through the options I've got and see what I like best and kind of go from there. So we'll give you a quick walk around of the bumper, but thank you guys for watching the build video and stay tuned for the next one.